Hello, it's me Lore, and in today's video I'm going to paint some loose floral motifs because it's spring and good weather is slowly getting here, and I can't wait to enjoy the sun, the birds, and to see all the flowers and all the trees bloom. So in this Paint With Me video, I will be using my Winsor Newton watercolors, watercolor paper, and a round pointed watercolor brush, medium size like this one. And I will only use a single brush for all of the different paintings. You'll see how many different techniques we can use to achieve different results with only one brush. You'll see that depending on how you use the brush, how much pressure you apply, and depending on how you hold it, you will be able to get different brush strokes. And this will be useful to learn and have handy when you're painting any other things. It's also important not to stress when painting floral motifs, because they don't have to be perfect, as nature is not perfect. And that is what makes it beautiful, so don't worry. So try to lose your hands a little bit and try to make loose and dynamic strokes with your brush, like this. Even if you're not happy with the result, remember that you are practicing and we are not trying to get to perfection. A quick tip: it's a good practice to paint with your brush by moving from your wrist and not from your fingers. So that way you will have a bigger range of motion and it will help you to paint much looser and you will feel more comfortable too. So, if you are ready, you can paint with me some easy floral techniques using a single brush. Let's go! So I've started just with simple brush strokes, following the shape of the brush. And as you can see, I am making simple leaves with simply moving the brush and pressing when I need it to be thicker. And then if you want to do the stems, you just need to use the thin edge of the brush, the pointy edge. So very carefully use the tip of the brush to the stems or tiny details if you need them. Next, I'm going to paint some eucalyptus leaves, and I will use a little bit more of blue so we have different colors and a bit of contrast. So maybe around here. The eucalyptus leaves are more round shaped, so you can help yourself with the brush and just move it around until you create a circular shape. And some of them will be touching each other, some will be a bit more separate, some will be a bit darker. So you can just try and do that. And then we'll go with the very tip of the brush, very thin, we'll do the stem of the eucalyptus plant. And I'm going to add one more on this side. As you can see, because the watercolor is still wet, I am getting these textures and the colors are melting into each other, and that is something that when painting plants we really want, as it makes it more natural and more interesting. Next, I'm going to paint a lavender stem with some flowers, and that's a different technique that I'll show you in a minute. It's very easy to do and it's also very handy to learn. For the lavender, we want first a lighter color on the base layer, and we will just move the brush around next to the stem that we just draw like that, and just with the simple shape of the brush go around the stem and keep getting smaller brush strokes. Now we can take a darker color and go on top to add some details and some contrast to some of those parts. We don't want to repeat everything that we just did, just in some areas. And we can add a little bit of splash around it. I think it makes it look extra special and nice. And now we are going to add some yellowy, orangey flowers. And we are going to make like a small bouquet of flowers. Also, I'm going to start with light yellow base. And similar to what we did with the lavender, but in this case we're going to make like circles, more like dots. So we have more like this mimosa plant shape. And we're going to make some of those strokes bigger and some details smaller. And once we have the flowers, we can go with the stems, which I will be using dark green. Just very detailed, just with the edge of the brush. We'll do like a bouquet with lots of stems going into the flowers that we just painted. Now I'm going to try and paint more like petal flower with different tones of the same color. So if the flower is pink, we're going to use a very light pink on some of those petals. And in the meantime, we're going to paint the stem. And now we can add darker pink petals on top of those, and they will melt and combine with each other. So I'm going to add one over here, just barely touching the other ones. Maybe one that's overlapping here. Let's add a bit more contrast. Okay, so let's add a bit of lively green to this painting with some ferns. I will just add them all over the place, I think. This one, I think it's a good idea to start with the stem first. So maybe let's do one here. And after you have the stem done, we'll start just doing like round, tiny leaves, starting at the bottom and building our way to the top with slightly bigger leaves. And once you reach the top, you want to make those leaves smaller and smaller until you reach the very last one. And also, if you want to add a bit more contrast, you can do that by taking darker color and adding to the places where you need them, like where the leaves are touching the stem, for example. And I'm going to add some long leaves just to fill up the page and have that spring vibe all over it. And another technique that you can use with painting flowers and floral elements is just making little dots with the tip of your brush to make like small mimosas or some round flowers. Just to add a bit more of magical spring to this painting, I'll just drop some splashes, colorful splashes around. If we don't want them, we can easily erase them. And this is how you can practice your brush strokes with a single brush. This one is a number 6 from Panart, but you can use any round tip brush that you have. And yeah, good luck with experimenting your floral items and painting spring theme. I hope you enjoyed painting with me these floral items and that maybe you learned a few new tricks. Remember that practice is key to learning how to paint with watercolors. I myself struggle a bit with painting flowers, so I will need to practice more floral elements in my sketchbook for sure. But thank you so much for watching and see you next week with another art video. See you! Bye!